G'day mates, this is a little bit of a different video. I always hear complaints about pollsters, how they're not accurate and all that shit, so here you go. I did some artistic analysis regarding each pollster, which one is the most accurate in terms of polling Republican support, Democrat support, Libertarians, Greens, and the total spread. So we're doing this national polling, and we're doing it for state polls, for the most important states. Both for 2020 and 2016. Now, first, a little bit of terminology, then we'll do national polling, then we'll do state polling. Easy, right? Alright. A bullish poll is a pollster that deliberately overestimates support for one party. Usually this is internal polling. For an example, this would be the public polling project for the Democrats, or Fabrizio for Republicans. Then you have bearish polling, which is kind of the opposite, but not really. It is a pollster that deliberately underestimates the opposition to a party. Again, usually internal polling. But sometimes people take it seriously and they pretend that they're non-partisan. So we have two definitions in terms of polling here for the data. The final error, which is just final polling minus polled results. Simply put, if the number is positive, that means the final result is higher than the polled support, which means underestimation. And in the case of a negative number, that would mean that the polled support is higher than the final result, which means the candidate is overestimated. Simple, right? Then you have the spread, Democrat minus Republican. And the final result can be positive, which is Republicans are overestimated and Democrats overestimated means the number is negative. And the reason for this is very simple. If the error regarding Democrats is negative, which means Democrats are overestimated, and Republicans are underestimated, well, that number will become very negative. Because the first element, the Democrat number here, becomes -1. And the Republican number becomes 2, which means -1 minus 2 becomes -3. That's how the definition works in this particular case. Just so you know. I don't want to see any comments regarding that, because I pretty clearly want to explain it to you. Alright, so you're going to see tables. Left side of the slide is best performing pollsters. Right side is worse, unless I say something that different regarding that, okay? So let's start. National polling head to head. So just Democrat, Republican, and nothing else. Best performing pollster for the Democrat support measuring is Fox News, Monmouth, NBC News, Wall Street Journal, and Quinnipiac. They overestimate Clinton, Biden by 0.2 on average. The top 5, they all are within 1 point of the actual number. But I'm not going to read them out loud, otherwise this video will be 2.5 hours and I don't want you to suffer through it. So, the worst performing pollster, and I'm only going to read the ones that are outside of the margin of error. So, margin of error, I'll tell you this, that's 5. Politico Morning Consult underestimated Joe Biden by 9 points in national polling. The Associated Press overestimated both Clinton and Biden by 6. Everyone else, technically speaking, within margin of error, however, they are wrong. Republicans, the only one that's within 1 point is Harvard-Harris for 2020. Slightly underestimated Trump support by 1 point. CNN, slightly over 1 point, but still acceptable. Worst performing pollsters for the Republicans, Politico, again, underestimating Trump by 13 points. The Atlantic underestimated Trump by 8. Slightly over 8, actually. CNBC underestimated Trump by 8. Grinnell, Seltzer, and New York Times Siena underestimated Trump by 6. And the Associated Press, GFK, and then MSNBC Telemundo underestimated Trump by 5. Brings us to the spread. Quite good top in this particular regards for the listing of polling. McClatchy-Marist, 0.1% off of the final result. Basically spot on. The LA Times, 0.3% overestimation for the Republicans. Emerson overestimated Biden by half a point. The Hill overestimated Trump by half a point. IBD Tip overestimated Trump by 0.8. Bloomberg and the New York Times in combination with CBS News overestimated Clinton by 1. Worst performing pollsters, as you can see, quite a few of them. Associated Press overestimated Democrats by 11. The Atlantic MSNBC overestimated Democrats by 9. CNN overestimated Democrats by 7.5. CNBC overestimated Democrats by 7. NPR PBS Marist overestimated Democrats by 6.5. Also the USC Dornriff. Yeah, what does that stand for again? I don't think University of South Carolina. I think it's something else. For the four-way race, Fox News Monmouth for Democrat support, 0.2% deviation. JTN RMG, 0.4. CNBC, 0.6% overestimation. ABC Washington Post overestimated Democrats by 0.7. ABC and CNN overestimated Clinton by slightly under 1 point. Worst performing pollsters, Guardian underestimated Clinton by 9. Reuters underestimated Clinton by 6. CNBC underestimated Clinton by 5. And everyone else is under the 5-point threshold. For the Republicans, IBD Tip underestimated Trump by 1. Monmouth underestimated Trump by 2. And I don't want to discuss anyone else because they're just too far off. Worst performing pollsters, CNBC underestimated Trump by 12. Boston Globe and Guardian underestimated Trump by 10. Associated Press underestimated Trump by 9. Reuters and GW Battleground underestimated Trump by 7. ABC News, NBC News, Quinnipiac, Pew Research and the Public Polling Project underestimated Trump by 6. For the Libertarians, every pollster that polled the Libertarians in national polling, at least the top 5, were all within 1 point. The most accurate one, JTN, with 0.2% deviation. Monmouth and USA Today, 0.25 off. CNN, Fox and Gravis, 0.3 off. Bloomberg and Rasmussen, 0.7 overestimation. And then ABC News, Washington Post overestimated. And everyone else is within the 5-point margin, so I'll just name the worst one, GW Battleground. Overestimating Gary Johnson by 4.7, which is double the vote share he actually got. He got 3%, I think 3.3 nationally, and they had him at 8. So technically, Quinnipiac also doubled the vote share for his polling. Doesn't really matter. Green Party. The top 6, technically speaking, had all within 1 point. So that's the 5 on the left side and then the bottom one on the right. All within 1 point, so that's a good job. However, the Green Party had 1.1% nationwide in 2016 and 0.2 in 2020. So that's the kind of numbers you're dealing with. PPP and Quinnipiac, 0.1 off, so they had Jill Stein getting 1% of the vote. She got 1.1, so basically on point. The worst performing is CBS News and The Guardian. They had Jill Stein getting 4% of the vote nationwide. She got 1. That's the kind of pollsters you're dealing with here. For the spread, the most accurate one nationwide is Rasmussen. 0.1. That's basically on point. Bloomberg, CBS News, The Guardian and Reuters Ipsos, all within 1 point as well. The worst performing pollster is the Associated Press, in favor of the Democrats by 12. Boston Globe in favor of the Democrats by 8. ABC News and CNBC in favor of the Democrats by 7. GWU Battleground in favor of the Democrats by 6. And CNBC in favor of the Democrats by 5.5. So that's national polling. I picked out 15 states, 16 to analyze. These are basically the swing states. However, I believe 6 of them are safe Republican at this point for 2024. Take that in mind. So, first off, the state of Arizona. The most accurate pollster for the Democrats is Fox News, New York Times, and Reuters Ipsos. 0.2% deviation. So they had, what was it? Biden at 50. They got 50.2 or some shit like that. Well, no, that was Nevada. 49.2. I think he got. Well, got. CNN, 0.6% deviation. Underestimation for Clinton. CNBC, CNN, Univision, and USA Today overestimated Biden by 1, so I believe they's got them at 50. CBS underestimated the Democrats by 1, and everyone else is above 1 point. Worst performing pollster, still within 5 points, but NBC News underestimated Clinton by 4.5. For the Republicans, ABC News, Washington Post, Rasmussen, and Trafalgar slightly overestimated the Republican support by just 0.1%, basically on point. CNN overestimated Trump by 1 in 2016. NBC News underestimated Trump by 1 point in 2020. And the worst performing pollster in the state of Arizona is the Arizona Republic, underestimating Trump by 10. Fox News underestimated Trump by 9 in 2020. Univision underestimated Trump by 7 in 2020. And the New York Times underestimated Trump by 6 in 2020. And the rest is under 5 points, so that's below my discussion threshold. Third party support, the Green Party does not have ballot access in the state of Arizona. So this is only libertarians. CBS News, Monmouth, the most accurate one, 0.1%. CNN and Ohio Predictive Insights overestimated libertarians by 0.9. And the worst performing pollster is NBC News, overestimated Gary Johnson by 5 points. I think he got like 2% statewide, something like that. The spread, the most accurate one is NBC News, 0.3% deviation of the popular vote, so slightly in favor of Trump. Emerson and Gravis, 0.6 in favor of the Democrats. The Public Polling Project, 0.7 in favor of the Democrats. And everything else is within the non-discussion threshold. The worst performing pollster in the state of Arizona is Fox News, overestimates Democrats by 9. Arizona Republic overestimates Democrats by 8.5. Univision overestimates Democrats by 7.7. And the New York Times overestimates Democrat by 5.7. As you can see, the worst performing pollsters in the state of Arizona overestimate Democrats. This is going to be a very consistent theme throughout this entire video. Next up, state of Colorado. Best performing pollster for the Democrats is the Public Polling Project, 0.2% underestimation for Clinton. Monmouth overestimated Clinton by 0.8. Everyone else is outside the discussion threshold. Worst pollster is Fox News, underestimated Clinton by 11. University of Denver underestimated Clinton by 9. University of Colorado underestimated Biden by 8. Gravis underestimated Clinton by 8. And they have CNN, NBC News, and PBS underestimating Clinton by 7. On the Republican side, the Public Polling Project, once again, 0.3% off. Remington and Trafalgar overestimating Trump by 0.7. And everything else is outside of the discussion threshold. Fox News, worst poll performance in the state, underestimated Trump by 15 points. NBC underestimated Trump by 14. PBS underestimated Trump by 9. Quinnipiac underestimated Trump by 6. Keating, Magellan, and Monmouth underestimated Trump by slightly over 5. For third party, and here is where the Green Party does have ballot access. And what you can see is that Trafalgar and the University of Denver are basically on point with Libertarian support. NBC overestimated Gary Johnson by 10 points in the state of Colorado. I almost want to say Arizona. CNN and Fox overestimated Johnson by 8. And PBS overestimated Johnson by 7. I think at the end of the day he got like, I almost want to say 4% of the vote. Maybe 5? Something like that as Libertarian, but whatever. For the Green Party, CBS, Keating, Magellan, and the Public Polling Project overestimated Jill Stein by 0.6. Everything else is outside of the discussion threshold. So, as you can understand, probably you already saw this coming, the best performing pollster in the state of Colorado is Keating Research. That kind of fell out of the blue there. For an example, Keating missed Trump by 2, and then Biden by 2. So you have that 2016. So that's Clinton basically. Everything else falls outside the discussion threshold. NBC News overestimated Democrats by 7. Monmouth overestimates Democrats by 7. However, CNN News overestimates Republicans by 6 in the state of Colorado. Next up, beautiful sunshine, Florida. For the Democrat side, the top 5 are all within 1 point. ABC News, Florida State, and Rasmussen overestimate Biden by just a hair at 0.1%. CBS News, 0.15% underestimation. Florida Atlantic overestimates Democrats by slightly under half a point. Bay News and Opinion Savvy overestimate Democrats by slightly over half a point. And they have Mason-Dixon and the Public Polling Project underestimating Democrats by slightly over half a point. Regarding the worst performing pollster in the state, for the Democrats at least, Dixie Strategies and JMC Analytics slightly over 5 points for 2016. For the Republicans, Remington Research underestimated Trump by 0.6. Trafalgar, however, underestimated Trump by 0.9, and this is for both years. Worst performing pollsters in the state of Florida, Fox and Tip in 2020 underestimated Trump by 11. So these are pollsters that said, oh yeah, Trump is going to get like maybe 40% of the vote. You got 51. What did Fox have? Fox isn't even here. Tip. 3. Yeah. So Tip, for an example, had Biden getting 51% of the vote. 51 to 40 for Biden. It was 48 to 51 for Trump. That's just a giant polling miss. Monmouth, PPP, and the University of Northern Florida underestimated Trump by 7. Mason-Dixon and Quinnipiac underestimated Trump by 6. USA Today underestimated Trump by 6. And Gravis did so as well. For the third party, and this is a 4-party ballot, the top 2 I'll only discuss. Basically, it's a giant wall of text. You can just pause it and read it if you want, but the most accurate poll in the state of Florida for third-party support is Bay News, Dixie Strategies, Quinnipiac, Remington, and Trafalgar. For the Libertarians, worst one being Mason-Dixon, and the best one for the Green Party would be Bay News, CNN, Dixie Strategies, Fox News with Opinion Savvy, JMC Analytics, Mason-Dixon, Monmouth, Opinion Savvy. Once again, this one is just on their own. The Public Polling Project, Quinnipiac, Suffolk, and Trafalgar, 0.3% off. The worst one being Bloomberg, CBS, NBC, New York Times, and the University of North Florida, which doubled the estimated support for Jill Stein. The spread, best performing poll, Suffolk, slightly in favor of the Democrats. Trafalgar, slightly in favor of the Republicans, but about the same margin. Univision, slightly in favor of Democrats, 0.3%. And the last one, Bloomberg, 0.8 in favor of Republicans. Worst performing polls in the state of Florida, TIP overestimates Democrats by 14 points. Oopsie. Fox News overestimated Joe Biden by 12. Gravis and Monmouth overestimated Democrats by almost 8. CNN, NBC News, and Reuters overestimate Democrat, or Joe Biden in this particular case, by 7 in the state of Florida. CNBC and The Hill overestimated Biden by 6. Next up, I almost wanted to say Florida again, but it's Georgia. My brain is turning to mush. Kind of like Biden. Best performing poll for the state of Georgia for Democrats is Opinion Savvy, 0.4% off. Quinnipiac, slightly under half a point. Then it's Fox News with Opinion Savvy. And Landmark, Rosetta Stone, 0.6 overestimation for Hillary Clinton. Worst performing poll in the state of Georgia is JMC Analytics, underestimated Clinton by 7. Gravis underestimated Clinton by 6. And Mason-Dixon underestimated Biden by 5.5. For the Republicans, Emerson overestimated Trump by 0.2. Fox News overestimated Trump by half a point. And Landmark, in collaboration with WSB TV, overestimated Trump by 1 point in the state of Georgia. Next up, the worst performing poll for the Republican side is Gravis, underestimating Trump by 7.5. JMC Analytics underestimated Trump by 6.5. Quinnipiac underestimated Trump by slightly under 6. And NBC News underestimated Trump by 5.5. Third party support. This is another state where the Green Party does not have ballot access. Emerson, Trafalgar, and WSB TV, Landmark, they had the support for the Libertarians wrong by 1 point. And the Atlanta Journal is the worst performing one. They overestimated Gary Johnson and Joe Jorgensen by 6. The spread, most accurate one, Public Polling Project and WXIA Survey USA, 0.1%. New York Times Siena, University of Georgia, 0.3%. CBS News, YouGov, 0.4% in favor of Biden in this particular regard. WSB TV Landmark, 0.6 in favor of Trump. And JMC Analytics, 0.9 in favor of Trump. The worst performing poll in the state of Georgia is Mason-Dixon, 7 points in favor of Trump. Quinnipiac in favor of Biden by 5.5. State of Iowa is up next. And this is going to be a beautiful one for you, because here we have the Democrats, and it's going to be really funny once you hit the Republican ticket, or the Republican slide. Emerson Monmouth, 0.2% overestimation for the Democrats. Not going to discuss anything else. NBC News underestimated Clinton by 7. Suffolk underestimated Clinton by 6. And Who TV overestimated Biden by 5 points. Here we go for the Republican slide. The best performing poll in the state of Iowa is Insider Advantage and the Public Polling Project, and they both underestimated Trump by, here you go, 5 points. Outside of the margin of error. It's just a complete polling mess. Just tragic. The worst performing poll in the state of Iowa is, however, NBC News in collaboration with the Wall Street Journal and Marist. They missed Trump's support by 16%. I don't know how you do that. You miss, for every Trump voter in the state of Iowa, you just ignore one. So you have 3 voters that vote for Trump, and just you forget one of them. That's the kind of miss you make here. Gravis Suffolk missed Trump support by 14 points in 2016. New York Times missed 10% of Trump voters. And in the case of 2020, it is for every 5 Trump voters, you just forget one. That's the kind of miss you're talking about. I mean, what are you doing? Loras underestimated Trump support by 8, and CBS News YouGov underestimated Trump by 7.5. Third-party support, this is another state where everyone gets to be on the ballot. Quinnipiac overestimated the Libertarians by 0.2. Loras underestimated Gary Johnson by almost a point. And NBC News overestimated Gary Johnson by 8. And I believe they had him like 12% of the vote in the state. So that's tripling his vote margin. How do you do that? The most accurate poll for the Green Party is Des Moines Register and Quinnipiac. 0.3% deviation. Funny part about this, every pollster in the state of Iowa overestimates Green Party support. That's a funny one. Again, NBC News overestimated Jill Stein's support by 5 points, which is like for every Jill Stein voter there is, you just multiply it by 4. Who cares? That's the kind of polling miss you have here. For the spread, every single number is negative. And what does this mean? Every single pollster overestimates Democrats in the state of Iowa. Best pollster, Des Moines Register, overestimated Democrats by 2 points. Everyone else is over 5 points. This is just ridiculous. What this means is very simple. You cannot trust polling in Iowa. Just don't. I didn't pick up Barris for this, but maybe Barris has better polling. I need to check that out. Do it some other time, I suppose. Next state, Maine. I'm going to split this up per congressional district, just so you know. For the first district, the Press Herald overestimated Clinton by 0.1. Basically on point. Everyone else had at least a 1 point miss. The worst performing polls, NPRC underestimated Clinton by 9. Boston Globe, Colby College and Pan Atlantic underestimated Biden by 6 in the first district. For the second district, best performing polls, Colby College overestimating Biden by 1 point. Worst poll in the state of, or the district of Michigan, of Maine second. Completely mush at this point. They overestimated Biden by 8. No big miss or anything, right? Just for every 4 voters, you just add a 5th one, and then it'll be fine, right? For the Republicans, Pan Atlantic spot on in 2020. I believe they had Trump at 38. He got 38 exactly, so that's why. Worst performing poll was Colby College, underestimated Trump by 8. Bangor News, the Bangor Daily News, underestimated Trump by 7. In the first district, NPRC underestimated Trump by 6.5. The University of New Hampshire underestimated Trump by slightly over 5. And Quinnipiac underestimated Trump by 5. Nothing to see here. For the second district, best performing poll is the Bangor News. They underestimated Trump by 3 points. And everyone else is over 5 points miss for 2020 and for 2016. So nothing to see here. It's just that polling in the second district is just terrible, with Trump being the top of the ticket. And it's because Trump is not a conventional Republican. If you put someone like Nikki Haley on the top of the ticket, then the second district will just swing 15 points to the left and be done with it. Third party support for the first district. Emerson, Press Herald, 0.7% underestimation for the Gary Johnson. And Press Herald is underestimating Jill Stein by 1 point. in the 1st district. Second district, 0.5% overestimation for the Libertarians. Again, Emerson and the Press Herald. And this time Emerson is the most accurate for the third party support for the Greens, overestimating Jill Stein by 0.1%. The spread, the most accurate one is the Boston Globe, 2 points in favor of the Republicans. Quinnipiac being the worst, 9 points in favor of the Democrats. Bangor Daily News, 8.7 in favor of the Democrats. 6 points in favor of the Republicans for Emerson. Pan Atlantic, 6 points in favor of the Republicans. And then Press Herald, 5.5 in favor of the Democrats. Second district, this is a little more balanced. Colby College Survey USA, slightly in favor of Biden by half a point. Bangor Daily News, half a point in favor of the Republicans. And everyone else is like between 7 and 15 in favor of the Democrat for the second district. So as you can see, brings it into perspective, polling in the state of Maine is severely flawed. Next up, Michigan. So, best performing pollster in the state of Michigan is Gravis, underestimating Democrats by 0.3 on average. Number 2, ABC News, Washington Post, CNBC, Change Research, Rasmussen and Tip, overestimating Democrats, or in this case Joe Biden, by 0.4 in the state. So that's they had him at 52 and he got 51.4, something like 51.6, something like that. I think that's the kind of perspective you need to look at. Fox News, in collaboration with Mitchell Research, and you have MERS and the Public Polling Project, underestimating Clinton by 1. Worst performing pollster in the state of Michigan is Yahoo News, underestimating Biden by 6. MRG underestimated Biden by 5. And the Detroit Free Press and Detroit News underestimated Clinton by 5. For the Republicans, Insider Advantage, 0.8% deviation in 2020. Trafalgar overestimates Republicans by 1. And the worst polling in the state is Detroit News, underestimating Trump by 16 points. Again, no biggie. For every 3 Republicans, you miss 1. Not a big mistake or anything. Suffolk underestimated Trump by 10. Tip underestimated Trump by 10. Detroit Free Press underestimated Trump by 9. And MRG did so as well. Third party support. Libertarians were underestimated by Emerson, Gravis, and Trafalgar with 0.6 being the most accurate. The worst poll is Detroit News, overestimating Gary Johnson by 6. MERS and Trafalgar underestimated Stein by 1/10 of a point. And CBS News PvP overestimated Jill Stein by 0.9. Worst poll, once again, Detroit News, overestimating Stein by 4. In terms of spread, Change Research, the best performing with 0.2. Then you have Insider Advantage, 0.8 in favor of Trump. And the worst polls are Detroit News, 11 points in favor of Biden. Tip, 10 points in favor of Biden. CNN, Fox News, 9 points in favor of Biden. The Hill Harris X, 8 points in favor of Biden. And you have Suffolk, 8 points in favor of Clinton. Next up, Minnesota. Best performing, PPP, 0.4% underestimation for Biden. Star Tribune, 0.6% overestimation for Clinton. And they have KTSP, Survey USA, underestimated Democrats by 0.9. Worst performing poll in the state of Minnesota, Survey USA and USA Today Suffolk, underestimating Biden by 5. Republicans, the best poll in the state is Trafalgar, missing Trump support by 0.3. Worst performing poll is Fox News, underestimating Trump by 7. Star Tribune underestimated Trump by 6. USA Today Suffolk underestimated Trump by 5. Third party, Gravis, 0.3% underestimation. The Star Tribune, Gravis, and KTSP, they had Green Party support all within 1 point. That is because Jill Stein got like, I want to say 1.3% of the vote. Something like that. For Minnesota, the spread, the most accurate one is USA Today Suffolk, 0.1%. So at least they have the margin of victory correct. It's just that they underestimate both teams like 5 points. Yeah. They underestimate both teams by 5 points, but at least they have the margin of victory correct. Public Polling Project missed the margin of victory by 1 point in favor of the Democrats. The worst one is ABC News, overestimating Democrats by 9. Star Tribune, overestimating Democrats by 6.5. And Fox overestimates Democrats by 6. Next up, Home Sweet Home, Nevada. Hello. Democrats support CBS News, YouGov, on point. Monmouth underestimated Clinton by 1 point. Emerson underestimates Democrats by 1 in the state. And they have CNN missing 5% of the poll, slightly under 5, together with NBC, Wall Street Journal, and Marist in 2016. For the Republicans, Emerson is on point. Rasmussen slightly overestimating. 8 News, Las Vegas, and Remington Research 0.5% off. And the worst polls are Suffolk underestimating Trump by 7.5. Monmouth underestimating Trump by 6.5. Las Vegas Review underestimating Trump by 5. And everyone else is within a 5-point margin. Third party support. Green Party does not have ballot access in the state of Nevada. Remington 0.3% off. And they have 8 News Las Vegas, CBS News, Emerson, and Gravis 0.7% off. Worst poll, again NBC News. Miss of overestimating Gary Johnson by 7 points. In terms of the spread, University of Las Vegas, Hart Research, 0.6% in favor of Clinton. Emerson, 1 point in favor of Republicans. And everyone else is outside the 1 point margin. Worst pollster in the state of Nevada is CNN. 8 points off. Next up, New Hampshire. University of Massachusetts, location Lowell, and University of New Hampshire, 0.2% overestimation of Biden. Monmouth, St. Anselm, and WHDH, Emerson, 0.8% off. Everyone else is outside of that margin. WBUR, Massachusetts Incorporated, 8% underestimation for Clinton. New York Times, Siena, 8 points underestimation for Biden. Gravis, 6 points underestimation for Clinton. Go to the Republicans. University of New Hampshire, 0.4% off. The worst pollster in the state of New Hampshire, by far for Republicans at least, CBS News, NBC News, both underestimating by 11 points. University of Massachusetts, Amherst, and WBZ. And then the second one is WMOR in collaboration with the University of New Hampshire, underestimating Trump by 9. WBUR, Massachusetts Incorporated, underestimating Trump by 6.5. In terms of third-party support, ARG is basically on point in both the Libertarians and the Greens. Worst pollster in this regard is, that's a typo, should be NBC, Wall Street Journal, and Marist. Overestimating Gary Johnson by 6, and they have NBC once again overestimating Stein by 3. The spread, the most accurate one is Emerson, 0.15. Then you have University of Lowell, University of Massachusetts Lowell Department, 0.3% off. NBC News, St. Anselm, and University of New Hampshire, 0.6% off. And the worst public pollster in the state of New Hampshire is WMUR, University of New Hampshire, 11 points in favor of the Democrats. CBS, NBC's and NBC overestimate Democrats by 7. Rasmussen overestimates Democrats by 6.5. And ARG overestimates Republicans by 5. Next up, New Mexico. We're over half, guys. No worry. Democrats support Emerson College. Oh, sorry, Emerson, I believe. 0.3% underestimation. Worst poll is the Public Polling Project underestimating Democrats by 5. Everyone underestimates Democrats in the state of New Mexico. In terms of Republicans, the Albuquerque Journal, 0.755% underestimation. And the worst pollster is KOB-TV, Survey USA, underestimating Trump by 7. And they have the Public Polling Project underestimates Trump by 7 in the state of New Mexico. Third party support, Albuquerque Journal and Gravis, 1.7% overestimation. PPP overestimated Gary Johnson by 7. In terms of Green Party, Zia poll 0.2% off, and the PPP overestimated the Greens by 3 points in the state of New Mexico. In terms of the spread, Gravis is the most accurate, 0.3% off. Zia poll 6% in favor of Republicans. Next up, another one of the states that technically is a swing state, but I consider it no more a swing state, North Carolina. For the Democrats, top 5 is all within 1 point. Emerson the most accurate, 0.1% off. Survey USA, 0.2% off. ABC News, CNBC, East Carolina University, Reuters Ipsos, and The Hill, 0.4% overestimation. Susquehanna and the University of Massachusetts, 0.6 off. NBC News and Quinnipiac, 0.8% overestimation. The worst poll in the state of North Carolina in terms of Democrat support measuring is Insider Advantage. They underestimated Democrats by 4.5. For the Republicans, the best poll is WRAL TV and Survey USA, 0.4% off. Trafalgar underestimates Republicans by 1. And for the worst poll in the state of North Carolina, once again, NBC News underestimated Trump by 9. High Point underestimated Trump by 8. Bloomberg, Civitas, Suffolk, and USA Today Suffolk underestimated Trump by 7. Elon and Survey USA underestimated Trump by 6. And the New York Times underestimates Trump by 5. In terms of third-party support, again, the Green Party does not have ballot access here. CBS News, Gravis, New York Times, Quinnipiac, and WARL TV overestimated the Libertarians by 0.3. High Point and NBC News overestimated Gary Johnson by 5. In terms of spread, the most accurate one is Rasmussen, 0.3% in favor of the Democrats. On the edge of the discussion here is Trafalgar and WRAL TV with Survey USA. 1 point exactly. Worst poll in the state of North Carolina is by far NBC News. 10 points in favor of the Democrats. CNN, NBC News, 7 points in favor of the Democrats. CBS News and the Public Polling Project, 6 points in favor of the Democrats. Civitas, Quinnipiac, Suffolk, and Survey USA, 5.7% in favor of Democrats, and Monmouth, exactly 5% in favor of Democrats. Next up, state of Ohio. And the only flag that isn't an exact rectangle. Beautiful. Best poll for the Democrats, Emerson, New York Times, Siena, Quinnipiac, Rasmussen, and Trafalgar, 0.2% off. So number 2 is CNN, Monmouth, Ohio Media Collaborative, the Public Polling Project, and Remington Research, 0.8% overestimation. Worst poll in the state of Ohio is Bloomberg, underestimating Democrats by 4. For the Republicans, There's not a single pollster that overestimates Donald Trump in the state of Ohio. Matter of fact, the worst poll underestimates Trump by 3, and that's CNN and Trafalgar. Best poll, or the worst poll, is Ohio Media Collaborative, underestimated Trump by 11. Monmouth, NBC, and New York Times underestimated Trump by 9. Gravis, NBC News, and the Public Polling Project underestimated Trump by 8. Quinnipiac underestimated Trump by slightly under 8. Bloomberg and Fox underestimated Trump by 7. And you can get the point here. Third party support, again, both the Greens and the Libertarians are on the ballot. CBS News, most accurate for the Libertarians, 0.2% off. CNN and Remington Research, 0.8% overestimation. Bloomberg overestimated the Libertarians by 7. NBC News overestimated the Libertarians by 6. Then we go to the Greens. Gravis, Monmouth, and Suffolk, 0.2% off. Remington and Trafalgar, 0.8% off. And the worst poll is NBC News. Excuse me. Overestimating Jill Stein by 3 points. In terms of spread, every single poll overestimates the Democrats in the state of Ohio. I wonder why. The most accurate one, however, is Bloomberg and Trafalgar. 3 points off. And as you can see, everyone starting from number 3 all the way down is just 5 points off at the very least. Worst poll, NBC News. Who would have thunk it? 12% in favor of the Democrats. Next up, Pennsylvania. In terms of Democrat support, CNBC, Fox News, Rasmussen, and Tip, spot on. Emerson, 0.25% off, overestimation actually. Bloomberg, CNN, 0.5% overestimation. CBS News, Franklin and Marshall, Monmouth and Quinnipiac, 0.75 overestimation. And last, 5 of them that missed Biden's support by 1 point, and the only one that underestimated Biden was USA Today. Worst poll in the state of Pennsylvania for the Democrats is Mercyhurst, 5.5% underestimating Clinton. For the Republicans, best pollster is Insider Advantage, 0.2% overestimation. Trafalgar underestimated Trump by 0.5. And the worst poll in the state of Pennsylvania in terms for measuring Republican support is NBC News and Suffolk, 11%. Bloomberg misses Republican support by 9. Yahoo News misses Republican support by slightly under 9. Franklin and Marshall and New York Times missed Republican support by 7.5. And Mercyhurst misses Republican support by 7. In terms of third party, Gravis, Harper, Susquehanna, and Trafalgar, they miss Libertarian support by 0.4. Monmouth, Quinnipiac, and Remington miss Libertarian support by 0.6. And the worst poll is the Morning Call, overestimating Gary Johnson by 4.6. Harper, Monmouth, and Trafalgar, the best polls for Libertarian, or for... What a brain fart here today. Point for the Greens. And they have Emerson and Remington Research for 0.8% underestimation for the Greens. Worst poll is Bloomberg and Bloomberg and NBC News for Greens, 3.2%. So that is like, I almost want to say they measured it at 4 points, and in the end Jill Stein got like 0.8. So that would be overestimating them by a factor of 5. I almost want to say that, but I'm going to be a little conservative in this regard. For the spread, best poll Susquehanna, 0.25 in favor of the Democrats. Worst poll, NBC News, overestimating Democrats by 13. Bloomberg, Suffolk, overestimating Democrats by 10. Franklin and Marshall, overestimating Democrats by 8. CBS News, YouGov, overestimating Democrats by slightly over 7. New York Times, overestimating Democrats by slightly over 6. Notice that the only poll that overestimates the Republicans is Trafalgar, and it's slightly under 2 points. Everyone else overestimates Democrats. Next up, good old Texas. In terms of Democrat support, the best poll out there is WFAA TV, Survey USA, 0.2% underestimation for Clinton. CBS News, 0.35% off. Quinnipiac Lowell, 0.5% overestimation for Biden. And the worst poll in Texas is the Texas Lyceum, 6 points underestimation for the Democrats. Rice University underestimated Biden by 5.5, and Austin American underestimated Clinton by 5. For the Republicans, best one, CBS News, in collaboration with Dixie Strategies, 0.2% underestimation for Trump in 2016. Everyone else outside of the margin of discussion. Worst poll, Fox News underestimated Trump by 8. I believe they had Biden winning by 1. I almost want to say that in terms of their final poll. Austin American and Texas Tribune missed Trump support by 7. Texas Lyceum missed Trump by 7. Dallas Morning News missed Trump by 7. And University of Houston missed Trump support by 6.5. As you can see, most pollsters underestimate Trump support, whilst some pollsters overestimate Democrat support, either Biden or Clinton. In terms of third party, CBS News Dixie Strategies is the most accurate, getting both of them within a point. WFAA is the most accurate, who has them both within 0.2. University of Houston kind of inverted the margins that CBS Dixie Strategies has. And they have CBS News and University of Houston, who are accurate in terms of Green Party measurement, but overestimate the Libertarians a little bit further. In terms of spread, NBC News. Oh, that's funny. That's the first time they're actually accurate. And that's the 2016 election. Emerson, 0.3% off, and that is both 2016 and 2020 combined, but they are in favor of Biden. Trafalgar, 0.4% off in favor of Trump. And the University of Texas, with the Texas Tribune, 0.6% off in favor of Biden. The worst poll is the Dallas Morning News, 9% overestimation of the Democrats. And DMN, Emerson, 6 points, or 7.6 in favor of Biden. CNN Fox, 6.5 in favor of Biden. Texas Tribune, YouGov, 6 points in favor of Clinton. And Quinnipiac, 6 points in favor of Biden. Next up, state of Virginia. Fun fact, the only flag in the US that has tits on it. I always think that's a fun trivia question. Quinnipiac, the most accurate poll in the state of Virginia, 0.2% overestimation. Then you have Emerson, 0.8% off in underestimating Clinton. Everyone else is outside of the margin of discussion. Fox News underestimated Clinton by 10. Hampton University underestimated Clinton by 9. NBC News underestimated Clinton by 7. Sorry, Hampton underestimated Biden by 9. Winthrop underestimated Clinton by 6. And the Mason-Dixon underestimated Biden by 5. In terms of Republicans, Remington Research, 0.4% underestimation. Emerson, 0.6% overestimation. And Mason-Dixon, 1 point overestimation in 2020. Worst poll, MSN, I always confuse them. It's because they're part of the same umbrella. NBC News, 13% underestimation of Trump in 2016. Fox News underestimated Trump by 10. CBS underestimated Trump by 7. University of Maryland in Washington, D.C., I call them the District of Criminals, underestimated Trump by 7 in both elections. And they have Quinnipiac underestimated Trump by 6. For third parties, Christopher Newport University and Emerson were spot on. For the Libertarians, Gravis, PPP, Quinnipiac, and Remington overestimated them by 1. and everyone else is just way out. NBC News, once again being the worst pollster there is. Overestimated Gary Johnson by 9. Fox overestimated Gary Johnson by 7. For the Greens, CBS News, Emerson, Gravis, Public Polling Project and the University of Maryland, 0.3% overestimation. Christopher Newport and Remington, 0.7% underestimation for Stein. And the worst poll, once again, NBC News, 4 points overestimation for Jill Stein. In terms of the spread, Fox News, Gravis, Public Polling Project and Winthrop, the most accurate, 0.4% in favor of Trump. Washington Post, 0.7% in favor of the Democrats. And the worst pollster, who would have thunk it, in the state of Virginia, and NBC News, 6.6% in favor of the Democrats. However, magically, Quinnipiac appeared here as well as equally bad. Mason-Dixon, 6 points in favor of Trump. That's all there is to discuss. Final state, Wisconsin. The best pollsters in the state of Wisconsin for Democrat support is Fox News, Monmouth, Susquehanna, WPR, St. Norbert, 0.5% off. And in the case of 2020, they underestimated Biden by 0.5. In the case of 2016, they overestimated Clinton by 0.5. Worst pollster, obviously, ABC News, Washington Post, 7.5% overestimation. Quinnipiac, 7.5% underestimation. Yahoo News, 5.5% underestimation. I want to put your attention to ABC News. They had as their final poll, Biden plus 17. Not 1, not 2 points like a swing state should be. No, no, no. It is further blue than fucking Virginia. That's the final poll for ABC News in Wisconsin. Ridiculous. Republican support, Quinnipiac, 0.2% off. Trafalgar, 2 points underestimation. But that's not really outside of discussion anymore. Loras, underestimated Trump by 9. ABC News, Washington Post, underestimated Trump by 9 in 2020. WPR, St. Norbert, underestimated Trump by 8. New York Times, Siena, underestimated Trump by 8 in 2020. And Monmouth underestimated Trump by 7. As you can see, every single pollster, with the exception of Quinnipiac, underestimates Donald Trump quite significantly in the state of Wisconsin. Third party, CBS News, Gravis and Marquette, 0.4% overestimation for the Libertarians. Remington, 0.6% underestimation for the Libertarians, in this case towards Gary Johnson. Emerson being the worst, overestimating the Libertarians by 5.5. Best poll for the Greens, CBS News, Emerson, Gravis, and Monmouth. Spot on. Marquette and WPR, St. Norbert, being the worst, overestimating the Greens by 2. In terms of the spread, Trafalgar, best pollster, 0.3 in favor of Biden. Yahoo News, 1.3 in favor of Biden. And just so you know, every single poll in the state of Wisconsin is leaning towards the Democrats, as in overestimates Democrats, underestimates Republican in terms of margin of victory. Every single pollster. As you can see, ABC News, Washington Post, they just missed the margin of victory by 16 points. No big deal. Their final poll was Biden plus 17. They missed the margin of victory by 16. No big deal, right? New York Times, they had as their final poll Biden plus 11. They missed the margin of victory by 10. No biggie, right? NBC News, in combination with Marist and Reuters Ipsos, their margin of victory there, their final poll was Biden plus 10. They missed the margin of victory by 9. No big deal, right? Remington, WPR, missed it by 9. And the University of Wisconsin, in combination with YouGov, they missed the margin of victory by 8 in 2020. No big deal, right? Alright, that's the final poll. I've discussed everything, and I just see that across an hour mark. Damn, I wanted to have this within the hour. Who cares? I'm gonna put timestamps in. I'm gonna reference this video in future prediction, just so you know. Like, hey, polling misses taken into account. Here's the polling misses. Here's the pollsters in particular account, if you want to talk about that shit. So, that's good for you. This is gonna be a reference in future videos. Don't worry about that. That's more a me thing, right? Thank you kindly for watching, and I'll see you around. Cheers.